The galaxy was calm for many years. Trade routes were open, star systems were peaceful, and the Galactic Council believed they controlled everything. They believed nothing could surprise them anymore. But on one strange day, something happened that shook every world, every empire, every mind in the galaxy. It started with a sound, not a normal sound. This sound came from deep space, from a place beyond map stars. It froze communication channels, stopped trading ships, and even shut down small satellites. Engineers and scientists all across the galaxy stared at their screens as the strange signal repeated again and again. It was not a distress call. It was not a threat. It was not even a language they knew. It was human, a species that the galaxy thought was gone forever. The message was only 6 words long, but those 6 words carried enough power to terrify billions. A human battleship is coming soon. No one understood how the signal reached every star system at the same time. Even the most advanced empires did not have that kind of technology. But the message kept repeating calmly, like a heartbeat echoing across galaxies. The Galactic Council gathered in a panic. Delegates shouted over each other. Some claimed the message was fake. Others insisted it was a trap. A few old species, those who had seen humans long ago, sat in silence with fear in their eyes. A council officer asked, "How can humans still exist? They disappeared hundreds of years ago." An elderly alien replied with a shaking voice, "Humans never disappear. They only wait." The tension grew. Sensor stations on the edge of the galaxy reported a strange movement. Something massive was approaching from outside known space. Something so large that normal scanners could not measure it. The object did not travel in hyperspace. It did not use any known method of travel. It simply appeared closer and closer with every passing hour. On a small border world, a young sensor operator named Terra watched the screen with wide eyes. He had seen warships before, but nothing like this. At first, he thought it was an asteroid. Then he saw strange heat patterns. Then he saw symmetrical structure. And then, finally, he saw a shape. It was a ship larger than anything the galaxy had ever built. The closer it came, the more impossible it looked. It moved like a shadow, passing through dark matter clouds without slowing down. It bent light around its hull. Even time seemed to shift near it. The ship gave no response to radio calls, no identification, no communication. It only moved forward, silent and unstoppable. Terra whispered to himself, This cannot be real." But it was real. Every world in the galaxy saw it. Every government activated emergency protocols. Some empires prepared their fleets. Others hid their leaders underground. A few species began to pray, because they all knew one thing. Human ships were never this big before. If this was a human battleship, it was not designed for travel. It was not designed for defense. It was designed for something much bigger. Something the galaxy was not ready for. Inside the council chamber, panic reached its highest level. A military commander stood up and shouted, "We must fire first. If that ship reaches a core, our entire galaxy may fall." Another leader answered, "Fire? Are you insane? If the humans truly returned, any attack may destroy us all." An advisor asked quietly, "Why would humans return now? What do they want?" No one answered. The room became silent when a scientist entered and placed an old file on the table. It was dusty, sealed, and forbidden for centuries. The scientist spoke in a heavy voice. "This file contains the last human message before they vanished." The council opened it. Inside was a short statement. "We will return when justice must be served." A cold wave passed through the room. If the humans returned now, it meant justice was coming. The signal suddenly changed. Every screen flickered. Every device shook. The entire galaxy froze as a human voice, calm, clear, and emotionless, spoke again. "Prepare." That was all. No explanation. No reason. No demand. Just one word that carried more weight than any fleet. On border world observation posts, officers watched with trembling hands as the giant ship slowed down near their system. Dozens of smaller alien ships tried to scan it, but could not. Their sensors failed. Their engines flickered. Their weapons overheated without firing. It was as if the battleship's presence broke every rule of physics. And then the moment came. The massive object emerged from a nebula cloud, revealing its true form. A dark hull like polished obsidian, glowing lines like veins of energy, engines that burned without fire, and a symbol on the front. Simple, sharp, unforgettable. The emblem of humanity. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy saw a human ship. And it was not just a warship. It was a judgment. Fear spread like wildfire. Leaders whispered. Soldiers trembled. Civilians hid. Because everyone knew. The galaxy's fate changed the moment that battleship arrived. And no one knew whether humanity returned as saviors or as executioners. The galaxy was still shaking from the arrival of the human battleship, but fear turned into deeper confusion when the ship made no move to attack. It simply floated in space like a silent mountain, watching everything, saying nothing. Inside the Galactic Council, panic slowly shifted into curiosity. Why would humans return after so many years? Why now? And why was the ship so powerful that it seemed alive? A historian named Valora, one of the few scholars who studied old human records, stepped forward with trembling hands. She carried a small silver cube, an ancient data memory from the era when humans were still part of the galaxy. She placed the cube on the table, and it projected an old recording, dusty, almost broken, but still clear enough to understand. A human's voice echoed across the chamber. "We do not seek war, but betrayal has a cost." The room fell silent. Valora explained, "This was recorded during the final human meeting with the Council 300 years ago. This was the last time anyone heard from them." The Council members looked confused. Many of them were younger species, born long after humans disappeared. A nervous delegate asked, "What betrayal?" The Council never attacked humans. Valora shook her head slowly. "You did not, but someone else did." She pressed another part of the cube. New images appeared. Old battlefields, destroyed colonies, burning landscapes. Shadowy alien ships attacked human settlements while the Council remained silent. The attackers were an unknown species of the time. Hidden, powerful, ancient. "Who were they?" someone whispered. Valora answered with fear in her voice. "The Varkun." The name alone created tension in the room. The Varkun were a species no one spoke about anymore. A species believed to be extinct. A species feared even by the strongest empires. They invaded human space. Valora continued. They destroyed outposts, captured civilians, and erased entire colonies. And the humans asked for help. The projection showed humans begging the Council for support, for weapons, for alliances. But the Council refused. "We were afraid," one elderly leader admitted quietly. "Humans were young but powerful. The Varkun were ancient. We feared becoming part of a war we could not win." The recording now showed the last human message before their disappearance. "If you will not stand with us, then you will stand aside. We will return when the galaxy must answer." After that message, humans vanished. Their planets emptied, their cities silent, their fleets gone without a trace. Some believed humans fled. Some believed they died. Some believed they evolved into something else. But no one imagined they were building a warship the size of a moon. Valora continued. "Humans did not run away. They retreated to save what was left of them. They disappeared so they could rebuild, quietly, safely, secretly." Now every leader wondered, had humans rebuilt their species into something far greater? Was the giant battleship the symbol of rebirth or revenge? While the Council argued, something unexpected happened. A new signal arrived, this time from the human battleship itself. The message was short. "We return for the ones responsible." Everyone froze. Who were the ones responsible? Was it the Varkun? Was it the Council for refusing to help? Was it the empires who benefited from human disappearance? All possibilities were terrifying. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, small colonies began reporting strange encounters. A dark shadow passing across their skies. Power grids flickering. Weather patterns shifting. All signs pointed to one answer. The human ship was moving, but not randomly. It was traveling along the path of the old human colonies, visiting the places where human blood was spilled centuries ago. A young alien officer named Huron watched the ship's movement pattern. His hands shook as he showed his commander the map. "Sir, look, the ship is following the trail of destruction the Varkun created." The commander swallowed hard. "Then humans know. They know everything." Huron nodded. "And they are not searching for survivors. They are searching for justice." The realization spread through every fleet, every academy, every world. Humans were not here to conquer the galaxy. Humans were not here to reclaim their place. Humans were here because something ancient had returned or was about to return. The Council suddenly received another message, this one from a distant star system near the Void Edge. A small research station had reported a terrifying discovery. Massive Varkun fleets were awakening. Old weapons, old ships, old hatred. The Council chamber shook with fear. Leaders whispered urgently. Some cried. Some tried to flee. But there was no escape from the truth. The Varkun had never died. They were simply waiting, just like humans. Valora stared at the giant human battleship on the holoscreen. It hovered calmly, silently, like a judge watching criminals confess. She whispered a sentence that would later become famous across the galaxy. "The humans did not come to destroy us. They came because something worse is coming." And in that moment, every empire understood. The return of humanity was not the beginning of a war. It was the beginning of judgment, because the galaxy's sins were finally coming due, and only humanity was strong enough to face what was waking in the dark. The human battleship moved through space slowly, silently, and without any sign of emotion. It did not change direction. It did not answer messages. It simply traveled as if it already knew its path, and nothing in the galaxy could stop it. But the Galaxy Defense Alliance did not accept that. They gathered their strongest fleets around a strategic world named Ithalon, a planet protected by heavy shields, massive cannons, and a fleet of nearly 500 warships. It was known as the Iron Wall of the Core. Every species believed no enemy could pass through Ithalon without breaking. The Council hoped the humans would stop when they saw such a strong military presence. They hoped the humans would talk. They hoped the humans would fear. But hope died the moment the battleship arrived. Across Ithalon's orbit, thousands of soldiers watched the dark shape appear from behind a nebula cloud. For a moment, everything went silent. Even the ship's engines made no sound. The giant vessel cast a shadow across half the planet as it passed. Captain Ralvek of the Ithalon Defense Fleet ordered all ships to stand ready. "Hold position. Do not fire unless fired upon," he commanded. Every officer knew he was terrified. His voice broke slightly, his hands shook, but he still tried to stay brave. The battleship drifted closer, closer, until it reached the outer shield of Ithalon. Scanning the object, an officer reported, "But, Commander, the readings are impossible." Ralvek frowned. "What do you mean impossible?" The officer swallowed. "It has no engine signature, no hyperspace core, no heat radiation. It is like scanning a ghost, sir." Ralvek felt cold air on his skin. Impossible. Nothing that big can move without energy. But the ship continued to move, straight toward the world shield. Then something happened that no one expected. The planet's shield fired, not because anyone ordered it, but because the shield failed to understand the battleship's presence. The human ship's energy field was so strong that the shield systems panicked and discharged their entire power grid. A massive blue beam shot toward the battleship. Every warship braced for an explosion. Every soldier expected a shockwave. Every leader watching from the council chamber held their breath. The beam hit the human battleship and passed straight through it, like light passing through mist. The beam did not scratch the hull. It did not burn the ship. It did not even make it shake. The shield's strongest weapon meant nothing. Ralvek stared in horror. That was the full power of Ithalon. And it did nothing. The battleship continued moving forward at the same slow, calm speed. Then it touched the shield. Everyone expected the shield to push back, to resist, to explode upon contact. But instead, the shield simply dissolved, like snow melting under warm sunlight. The energy barrier that had protected Ithalon for 200 years vanished in a single second. Every officer in the fleet froze. "No way, shields can't just disappear," one whispered. Ralvek felt his heart stop. They didn't disappear. The ship ignored them. Alarms rang across the planet. Weapon systems overheated without firing. Engines refused to start. Communication signals crashed. Everything that made the fleet strong failed at the same time, as if the battleship willed it. The human ship passed through the shield, through the defensive perimeter, through the entire fleet, without firing a single shot. One alien general watched the miracle and whispered, "We're insects to them." But then something even stranger happened. A message appeared on every ship, every screen, every device. Not from the Council, not from the fleet, not from any known source. It came from the human battleship. A calm voice, soft and emotionless, spoke in perfect galactic standard. "Stand down. This is not your war." The message repeated only once, but the meaning shook the galaxy. Soldiers across the fleet stared at one another in confusion and fear. What did the humans mean? If this was not the galaxy's war, then whose war was coming? Ralvek tried to speak, but his voice cracked. What were they talking about? Who was the enemy? Before anyone could answer, the battleship changed course. Not toward Ithalon, not toward the Council core, not toward any known target. It headed toward a dead region of space, once home to ancient battles, a place no ship visited for centuries, a place connected to the old human colonies, a place connected to the Varkun. The message, "This is not your war," suddenly felt more terrifying than any attack. Because if the humans were not attacking the galaxy, then the humans were preparing to fight something much worse. Across the galaxy, species began to understand what this demonstration meant. The humans had shown their strength, but not through violence. They showed it through mercy. They walked through the galaxy's greatest offenses without hurting anyone. They did not destroy Ithalon. They did not cripple the fleet. They simply showed what they could do if forced. It was not a warning. It was a reminder the power humanity now held. Power shaped by centuries of silence, suffering, and rebuilding. As the battleship disappeared into deep space, Ralvek whispered a single sentence that spread through the fleet. If this was not their attack, then their real enemy must be a nightmare. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy feared the dark again. The human battleship vanished into a region of space known as a hollow quarter, a place most ships avoided, a place filled with dead stars, broken planets, and the ghosts of old wars. Even the bravest explorers refused to enter it, but the humans moved straight toward it, as if they knew exactly what waited inside. Inside the Galactic Council, fear had turned into dread. Every leader, scientist, and strategist knew the same truth now. Humans were not wandering. Humans were hunting. And the galaxy finally understood who they were hunting. The Varkun, a name older than most civilizations. A species believed extinct. A species with a reputation so dark that even their memory could make strong warriors tremble. They were known for one thing. They never attacked unless they planned to erase an entire species. Centuries ago, they tried to erase humanity. Many in the council wanted to avoid discussing this part of history. But now, there was no choice. The truth was returning, just like humanity. The council called an emergency meeting. The chamber was crowded, voices shaking, screens flashing. A young council member asked, "Why are the humans going toward the hollow quarter? There is nothing there. No life, no colonies." Valora, the historian who studied human records, stood up again. Her voice was soft, but her words cut through the noise. "There were once 12 human colonies in that region," she explained, "before they were destroyed." The chamber fell into dead silence. Destroyed. Not lost. Not abandoned. Destroyed. A general demanded. By who? Who destroyed them? Everyone knew the answer, but no one wanted to say it. So Valora said it for them. The Varkun. She activated an old file, and terrifying images appeared. Not war footage. Records from ancient ruins found long after the attacks. Human outposts burned from orbit. Cities turned into dust. Star bases ripped apart. Council members watched with shaking hands. Why didn't the council stop them? Someone whispered. An elder council leader closed his eyes in shame. We were afraid. The Varkun demanded we stay out of the conflict. We chose safety over honor. The humans asked for help. We refused. The old man's voice broke. And the humans never forgave us. A military strategist leaned forward. But the Varkun disappeared after those attacks. Their empire collapsed. Their star systems died. They became extinct. That is what all records say. Valora shook her head. No, that is what we told ourselves. She played another file, this one more recent. A research station near the Hollow Quarter sent an emergency report. Underground fleets detected. Varkun ships awakening. New weapons forming. Then the message ended with screaming. The council chamber erupted in panic. Alarms sounded across several worlds. A feeling fell over the galaxy, like shadows spreading across every system. The Varkun had been sleeping, not dying, rebuilding, not collapsing, waiting, not defeated. A scientist panicked. Why didn't our senses detect them? How did they hide for so long? Valora answered. Their technology is older than our galaxy. They do not hide using stealth. They hide by bending reality around their ships. A chill moved across the room. If the Varkun were awake again, it explained everything. The human battleship wasn't here to conquer the galaxy. They were here because something ancient and deadly was returning. But there was another truth no one wanted to say out loud. When the Varkun attacked humanity centuries ago, the Council secretly supported them, not with soldiers, not with ships, but with silence. The Council kept trade with the Varkun. They ignored human distress calls. They refused to intervene even when entire human colonies vanished. It was betrayal, and humans remember betrayal. A quiet voice spoke from the back of the room. It belonged to a small, elderly alien who had lived during the old human council days. The Varkun feared humanity, he said softly. They said humans were too adaptable, too unpredictable, too dangerous. He swallowed before continuing. They wanted to crush humanity before humanity became strong enough to crush them. A deep silence spread. The council realized something terrifying. If the Varkun believed humanity would become unstoppable, then what kind of power had humans reached now? Meanwhile, in the Hollow Quarter, the human battleship reached its destination. The empty darkness suddenly lit up, thousands of ancient shapes floating among dead stars. Gigantic metal structures, twisted and rusted by centuries. Old battle stations with Varkun symbols burned into their hulls. Then something moved. A fleet. Hundreds of Varkun warships activated at the same moment, glowing like living shadows. Their weapons hummed with energy strong enough to tear planets apart. Sensors across the galaxy detected it. Every species panicked. The Varkun were not returning quietly. They were returning with the power to destroy galaxies. But the human battleship did not retreat. It turned its massive hull toward the awakening enemy fleet. It faced them alone in the silent dark. And then it sent a message to the entire galaxy. Do not interfere. This is between us and them. For centuries, the galaxy feared the Varkun. Now, for the first time in its history, the Varkun were afraid, because humanity had come back, and they came for justice. The awakening of the Varkun fleet shook the galaxy like a storm. Across thousands of star systems, alarms echoed, governments panicked, and armies scrambled to prepare for a war they never wanted to fight. Every species knew the truth. If the Varkun wanted total destruction, nothing could stop them except maybe the humans. And yet, humanity had returned with only one battleship. One ship against an ancient superpower. One ship against weapons that could erase star systems. One ship standing alone in the Hollow Quarter. But even stranger was the message humanity sent. Do not interfere. This is our war. That sentence shook every empire more deeply than any weapon could. Why would humans fight alone? Why would they protect the same galaxy that betrayed them? Why would they risk extinction again? Inside the Galactic Council, chaos spread like wildfire. Leaders argued, shouted, pleaded, but no one had answers. The Council had failed humanity in the past. Now humanity was protecting them from a threat even older than the Council itself. A young military strategist, Commander Selix, slammed his hand on the table. We cannot let humans fight alone. If the Varkun win, they will come for us next. An elder responded sharply. And if we help, we may provoke the humans. They may turn against us before the Varkun even arrive. Another delegate whispered the most terrifying thought. What if the humans do not need our help? Silence filled the chamber. Meanwhile, deep in a hollow quarter, the human battleship finally faced a full Varkun armada. Thousands of dark, blade-like ships hung around dead stars, glowing with an energy that twisted space. Each ship was a weapon of living physics, ancient, hungry, unstoppable. The Varkun commander, a shadowy figure wrapped in energy armor, sent one message across the void. You survived our first purge. You will not survive the second. But the human battleship did not respond. It simply opened its front panels, revealing the glowing core inside, an impossible energy source that no one in the galaxy could identify. It pulsed like a beating heart, slow and confident. Back in the council chamber, scientists watched the scans with disbelief. That energy signature, it is not plasma. It is not fusion. It is not antimatter. Another scientist whispered, "It is biological." A chill swept the room. Biological energy. The battleship was not a machine. It was alive, and its living core was reacting, not with fear, but with anger. Across the galaxy, ordinary soldiers watched the live transmission of the human ship facing the ancient enemy. Many had grown up hearing stories about human bravery, human madness, human unpredictability. Now they watched those stories become real. In a border system, a young alien soldier whispered, "If humans are willing to die for a galaxy that abandoned them, then maybe we chose a wrong side in the past." Entire fleets felt the same. Whispers spread. Should we help them? Should we stand with them? Will they forgive us? But before the galaxy could decide, something terrifying happened. The Varkun fired their first weapon. A giant sphere of collapsed energy, something between a black hole and a star, shot toward the human battleship. The blast was powerful enough to tear the hollow quarter apart. Planets and nearby systems shook from the force. Everyone watching expected the human ship to dodge, defend, or retreat. It did neither. It simply absorbed the blast. The entire galaxy froze. Alien scientists screamed. What kind of ship can absorb a collapsing star weapon? But the answer came from Valora, the historian. "It is not a ship," she whispered. "It is humanity compressed into one vessel." Those words spread across the galaxy, carried by fear and awe. Inside the Varkun flagship, officers panicked. Their most powerful weapon had done nothing. The human ship did not even flicker. The Varkun commander roared, "Fire again! All weapons!" Thousands of beams, torpedoes, gravitational cannons, reality-breaking projectiles. Everything they had fired at the lone human ship. Explosions lit up the hollow quarter like a newborn galaxy. When the light cleared, the human battleship was still there, untouched, silent, unbending, watching. Then the ship finally moved. A shockwave rippled across space, gentle, soft, almost peaceful, but the effect was terrifying. Varkun weapons melted, their shields cracked, their engines collapsed, all with a single pulse. Not an attack, a warning, a whisper, spoken across millions of minds. Stand down. For the first time in thousands of years, the Varkun hesitated. For the first time ever, they felt fear. Across the galaxy, soldiers who watched the miracle cheered. Civilians cried. Whole fleets bowed their heads in shock. The galaxy understood something important. The humans were not protecting themselves. They were protecting everyone, even those who betrayed them. Commander Selix stood again in the council chamber, his voice steady and strong. "I'm choosing a side," he said. "I stand with humanity." Dozens of worlds agreed. Hundreds followed. Soon entire fleets changed their banners. For the first time in galactic history, the galaxy united, not out of strength, not out of hope, but because one human battleship showed them what courage looked like. And as the galaxy chose its side, humanity prepared for the next phase of the war, a phase only they understood, because the Varkun had awakened their weapons. But the humans were about to awaken something far greater. The galaxy had never seen unity before. Empires that once hated each other now stood side by side. Old enemies shared command centers. Fleets that were ready to attack each other only days ago now pointed their weapons toward the Hollow Quarter, all because of one human battleship. But humanity did not slow down. Humanity did not celebrate. Humanity did not call for help. The giant living ship continued forward, leaving the Hollow Quarter behind and entering the darkest, most unstable region of space, the galactic core, a place where stars were born and stars died, a place filled with gravity storms and collapsing suns, a place no ship could survive for long. But the human battleship moved through it like a creature returning home. Inside the council chamber, panic rose again. Commander Selix slammed his fist on the table. Why are they going into the core? The Varkun are regrouping. We should follow them. No, Valora said quietly. The humans know something we don't. And she was right. The Varkun were not preparing another attack. They were preparing their final weapon, a weapon hidden in the core for thousands of years, a weapon so dangerous that even they feared using it. The research data streamed in from scouts near the core. The council watched in horror as images appeared, a star collapsing in on itself. Not naturally, forced, controlled, a weapon that turned an entire sun into a reality tear. A sun-eater. If unleashed, it could rip through the galaxy and erase every star system in its path. Only the Varkun would survive inside their shielded void worlds. Every other species would disappear. And so the Varkun broadcast their final message. If we cannot rule the galaxy, then we will destroy it. Panic spread everywhere. But the human battleship did not panic. It accelerated. It went straight toward the collapsing star, like a warrior charging into a burning temple. Alien commanders watching the feed felt their blood freeze. No one can go near that energy, one said. It will destroy anything. But the human vessel ignored the warnings. It flew deeper into the storm of gravity and light. Then something unexpected happened. For the first time, a window opened on the human battleship. Not a real window, an energy display, a projection visible across the nearby fleets. Inside, the galaxy saw someone, a lone human, a commander, old, worn, scarred, but standing like a mountain. This was the first human face seen in 3 centuries. He looked at the galaxy, not with hate, not with anger, but with a sadness that hit every viewer in the heart. He spoke only one sentence. The crew you remember is gone. Only I remain. The council gasped. Millions watching the transmission felt their hearts shake. The Varkun hesitated for the first time. The human commander continued. Humanity did not disappear. We changed. We grew. We became what we needed to survive. He looked toward the collapsing star. This ship is not a weapon. It is the soul of my people. And then the truth appeared on every sensor in the galaxy. Every human who survived the Varkun genocide centuries ago, every scientist, every soldier, every leader, uploaded themselves into the battleship. Their minds, their memories, their emotions, their hope. The ship was not powered by machines. It was powered by humanity itself. The living core pulsed bright and strong. Scientists cried. Soldiers trembled. Civilians whispered prayers. The Varkun commander screamed in rage. You sacrificed your bodies to defeat us? You turned yourselves into a weapon? But the human replied calmly. No, we turned ourselves into a promise. The Varkun unleashed their final attack. The collapsing star's core ripped open, creating a gravity tear strong enough to swallow planets. Space shook. Stars dimmed. Whole fleets pulled back. Everyone shouted the same thing. Humanity will die. But the human commander did not turn around. He placed his hand on the glowing core, and the core answered. A shock wave of white gold energy burst from the battleship, pushing back the gravity tear, stabilizing collapsing star. The Varkun ships were thrown back like pieces of paper in a hurricane. Another message echoed across the galaxy, spoken by 1,000 human voices at once. We do not die today. The entire ship glowed brighter, brighter than a sun, brighter than a supernova. But instead of exploding, it absorbed the collapsing star's energy. It took the Sun Eater into itself. Something no species had ever done. Something no species had ever imagined. The galaxy shook with awe. The Varkun screamed in fear. The core stabilized, light returned, and the tear closed. But inside the human ship, the last commander took a deep breath. He knew the truth. The ship could survive this. But he could not. His human body was the last one left. The core did not need him anymore. It had awakened fully. He whispered to the ship, "Protect them, all of them." The ship answered with one final pulse of light, and the commander collapsed. His last breath carried across the galaxy, and every species, even those who once betrayed humanity, felt something break inside them, because humanity had just done what no other species ever could. They saved the galaxy that once abandoned them. They stopped a weapon meant to erase creation itself. And they did it alone. The human battleship floated quietly in the now stable core. Silent, bright, alive, waiting. The light from a human battleship faded slowly in the galactic core. What once shone like a second sun now rested in silence, floating above the stabilized star it had saved. Across the galaxy, billions held their breath. They waited for movement, a signal, anything, but the ship did not move. It simply existed, silent, glowing softly, like a guardian watching the galaxy it had just protected. Inside the Galactic Council, officers and leaders leaned forward as the final sensor readings came in. "The collapse has stopped," a scientist whispered. "The core is stable. The Varkun weapons are dead." A single sentence echoed across the entire chamber. The humans, they did it. Yet the victory felt heavy, because everyone saw the same thing. The human commander, the last human body, had collapsed inside the ship. The living core had absorbed the Sun Eater weapon, but it cost the final physical human life. Commander Selix felt something break inside him as he whispered. They gave everything, and they did it alone. But Valora, the historian, shook her head. "No," she said softly. "Look again." She pointed at the ship's glowing core. The last human did not die alone. He became part of them, part of the ship, part of humanity reborn. Her words spread through the council, through fleets, through millions of watching civilians. Slowly, hope replaced grief. And then, something unexpected happened. The battleship pulsed. Just once. A deep, soft, heartbeat-like pulse that spread across the whole core. Then another, and another. The ship was alive. Not wounded. Not dying. Awakening. Every species watching felt a pulse inside their minds. A warm, human presence, calm and steady. It was not a voice. It was not a message. It was a feeling of arrival. Then, without warning, thousands of signals appeared across the galaxy. Tiny signals, faint but clear, coming from star systems humans once lived in. Systems that were believed empty. Systems abandoned after the Varkun attacks. At first, the signals confused everyone. They were too weak to be full broadcasts, too organized to be natural, too synchronized to be random. Selix leaned over the screen. "What are those? Escape pods? Old tech?" A technician shook her head violently. "No, sir. These are life signatures." The room fell silent. Then the technician whispered, voice breaking, "Human life signatures." The galaxy exploded in shock. Across hundreds of systems, small, hidden colonies that no one knew existed began to wake up. Cryostasis chambers, long-forgotten shelters, underground cities buried beneath ruined planets, all activating at the same moment. Messages began to appear. System rebooting. Colonist revival in progress. Oxygen levels rising. Human survivors detected. Every surviving colony awakened like seeds, sleeping for centuries. The galaxy realized the truth. Humanity never died. They hid their children. They protected the future. They waited for the signal to return. And the battleship had sent that signal. The galaxy watched in awe as entire generations of humans stepped out of hidden vaults and underground shelters. Some were young, some old, some children, some soldiers, all alive, all waking from a sleep older than most empires. A small girl from a distant human colony whispered her first words on camera. "Is the sky safe now?" Billions cried watching her. The council received a universal broadcast from the battleship. This time, the voice was not one human. It was thousands, men and women, young and old, brave and broken. A chorus of humanity speaking as one mind. "We are awake." Their second message shook the galaxy. "We are not your rulers. We are not your enemies. We are your balance." And their final message was the one that changed history. Humanity has returned to join the galaxy, not as a victim, not as a weapon, but as a guardian. The Varkun fleet, broken and terrified, attempted to retreat into the hollow quarter, but the human battleship did not pursue them. It simply spoke one sentence: "Leave. Do not return." And for the first time in their ancient history, the Varkun obeyed. They fled. Across the galaxy, celebrations erupted. Fleets fired light cannons into the sky. Civilians gathered in streets. Entire planets sang the same song, songs of return. But no one celebrated harder than the newly awakened human colonies. Children looked up at stars they had never seen before. Old veterans cried as they felt sunlight again. Entire families reunited after centuries. The human battleship slowly moved out of the core, glowing with a new energy, stronger, calmer, wiser. It no longer looked like a weapon. It looked like a guardian angel built of steel and light. As it reached the edge of the core, it transmitted one final message to the council. "We ask for nothing. We demand nothing. Only this: never betray another species again." Celix bowed his head. Valora cried softly. Whole fleet saluted, because everyone knew the truth. Humanity had saved a galaxy that once abandoned them, and instead of demanding power, they offered peace. The galaxy realized something profound. Their fate had never been sealed by the human battleship's arrival. Their fate was sealed the moment humanity chose forgiveness over destruction, and so began a new era, the era of humanity reborn.